Good morning, everyone. This is Jawad, your host of Kingdom Dreams podcast. Welcome to another episode. Today, my guest is Edith and Sebastian. They're a couple, and they're the protagonist of a documentary called Blink, which will be premiering on December 16th on National Geographic, followed by December 17th on Hulu and Disney Plus. Blink is a Canadian documentary about a family who travels the world to experience the beauty before their kids lose their vision due to a genetic disorder. It is an incredible film, a powerful tribute to human spirit, and I really urge you to take a time to watch this film with your family as it's meant for everyone. Again, the film premieres on December 16th on National Geographic, followed by December 17th on Hulu and Disney Plus. I had a pleasure of getting to know your story about, I don't know, 4 years ago. It was in the news or something. It was around COVID time, and I was really fascinated. And then here we are. I was so glad to see because I'm a director myself, and I was really intrigued by your story. And here we are 4 years later, a well-worthy film being made on your journey. What an incredible story you guys have. Thank you for sharing that.
It's a
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure.
Tell me how you guys got started on the film itself.
Um, it was never our plan to make a film or
Yeah,
a
yeah.
documentary. And actually they reached out to us on social media, and we were already 2 months into the trip. And they reached out and we didn't know what to think of it. Actually, we thought at first, oh, documentary, not many people watch documentaries, so it's going to be just a little movie that nobody watches, and it's going to be a great souvenir for us. So you say, yeah, why not? We never expected it to be that big. But here we are. But we are so happy with the result.
Amazing. When you first started your journey, I mean, as I can see some of the footage, obviously I don't know when some of the footage was filmed, but did you guys always have this notion of documenting your journey just for your own keepsake, even before you were approached?
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. With the GoPro, I didn't know what I would do with it. And like some people approach us for documentaries, but little things, and it never, it never came to
Materialized.
materialize. So we just, okay, we're gonna document that part, and we'll see. And I had the ambition of like making something out with my personal archive just for the kids, just for memory. But I'm terrible. I hate editing videos. So I'm really glad, just for that, I'm really glad it was a crew that
No, but
she did.
Edith's goal was to take as much pictures and video as possible. She took 40,000 pictures, 150 hours of video. So, I think that was one way for her to cope with it, or to go through it and get back to the kids. But the documentary was a way to have Edith on the other side of the camera and actually part of the trip in the family.
Mhm.
Right. One of the biggest challenges is documenting while something dramatic is happening, and you have to figure out, am I supposed to do this or am I supposed to resolve the problem that is, point being the gondola where you guys,
Yeah,
start. All right. I've gone through that myself where I have to make a call about, doing something that is right or whether to continue filming. So how did you guys deal with that?
um like most of the time it was something more like, not as dramatic as the gondola, but during the trip, I would not film like if the kids would get hurt, because that was the mom first. But the gondola was really specific because it was for 10 hours that we were stuck in there. So it was actually very boring most of the time. In a movie, you see like just a few minutes. So you see the end when the stress is high, but
Mm,
most part of it was mainly very boring. And I think filming it was a way, it really helped me to focus on something else than where I was and what was happening. So it helped me, you know, be calmer, I think, and to focus on something else, and also for the kids. Um, I made them like do jokes and film silly, just tons of things that we filmed, but just to keep our minds out of it. Towards the end, when it got really stressful, I think I was a little torn between should I keep filming, but at the same time,
yeah, I was on the other side and asked her to stop filming.
He was tired of seeing me, but for me, I was just in it already. So I think part of my mind was more as like, oh, I'm filming this. That's going to be great for the movie. But it helped me for that. I don't know if I guess it was a right call, but it did bother. I think it bothered him a little bit during the filming.
Yeah, I completely understand, and it's a tough call, but in hindsight, obviously, it was probably the right call.
Yeah, no, exactly. But when you're into it, it's just like last thing you want to see.
Turn off your camera.
Yeah. The film covered a lot of parts, obviously, and a lot of stuff obviously gets taken out for, creative purposes and for the flow of the film. One of the things that more at a human level, I'm really curious about, it was in the film, but just to get a little bit more depth of it, is that how do you make a decision, especially, in a marriage? Like, it's really hard for a couple to agree on anything, but let alone such a big decision of traveling and just leaving everything behind, obviously for the sake of the kids. But what was that dynamic like? How was it, like a mutual agreement right off the bat for both of you? Or was there a lot of convincing and discussion?
No, I think that one was one of the easiest in the
Really?
sense that individually, with our families and together, we travel a lot. Even when we had our first kids, we traveled a lot. So traveling has always been part of who we are and what we love in life. So that part is somewhat easy. And I think with the diagnostic, when Edith went to meet the specialist and she said, you should, the best thing you can do is fill their visual memories and show pictures and books of animals like giraffes and elephants and other things. For us, it was obvious is that there's no way we're just going to show them in books. We're just going to go see the real thing. So for us going on a trip, it's probably not a question of if, but a question of when. But with that situation, it's like there's no way we're going to wait for it. Let's just do it now. There's an urgency to do it, and
we didn't even discuss it.
No, I think it was just
it was just okay. We're going. That's it. That was the extent of the discussion. That was more when, where, but are we going? How we're going to do that? It didn't matter.
Yeah, everybody has a different way of what they like in life. For us, traveling is part of it, and that's something we want to share with the kids. With the urgency and specifically the vision is something that our first goal was not only see animals but also the great landscapes, and that drove a little what the countries we chose, like Namibia, Mongolia, where you see wide expanses of crazy beautiful landscapes. So sunsets, sunrise.
We didn't argue ever even where to go.
No,
I don't know. We just.
I think the case in point is your kids, right? Like that's the mutual understanding that you have, and that's what you're doing it for. So that's probably one of the many reasons you probably guys kind of went along with it, because it was for the benefit of everybody in the family.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's easier to agree when it's like it's not our personal needs; it's really the kids' needs. So we're all on the same page on that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a little bit of your own interest.
Oh, for sure. We each had our countries and specific things we wanted to do for sure. So, going 9 days on a hike was a little tougher. So there's different things. Yes, there's in the smaller things for sure. In the bigger picture was easier. In the smaller things, there's always preferences and things like that. But we managed to do pretty much, a lot of things we wanted to do.
Right. Was there a time, a moment or moments, kind of like the gondola being the example, where either financially or physically or just, safety wise, was this the right decision that we made? Or was it always like, this was the best thing that we've done and we got to keep going at it?
So many times, like, what are we doing? Why are we here?
Give me an example, like one story if you can think
Yeah,
of.
no, I think
Namibia,
that
no, the Tazara. The example, one of the plan was to take the Tazara. We were in Africa, and there's that big train. It's a 3-day train that goes from Zambia to Tanzania. And we're like, okay, we're going to take that train ride. And we couldn't find on the internet there was no website, or there was just that email. So we could not make any reservation, but all the blogs said, okay, get to Lusaka and get your ticket there. So okay, we like that trip, it took us a few days to get there, and then we get there and there's no train. The train is down because there's a bridge that broke on the rail, and they say, oh no, the train start only in Tanzania. So we're in the middle of Zambia, and we're like, okay, what do we do next? We don't even know. We were, why are we doing that to ourselves? So we had to take a bus. It was a 12-hour bus ride.
That took 16.
That took 16, and it was crowded, and it never stopped. It was very uncomfortable, and we were all sick. So really, that moment, we're like, why are we doing this? It would have been such a better idea to just take a plane and get there.
Yeah, I think.
But
transportation is the one we really wanted to take less planes, and we wanted to take local transport. So we really did a lot of those. And some of which, that being an example, were a little, I wouldn't say sketchier, but a little harder, just long, uncomfortable.
But then it make the best memories at the same time. The kids, we all
in
remember
retrospect,
that.
In retrospect, where a lot of our souvenirs are in the transports, but but while we're in there, it's I guess it's something that we build on, and we're able to withstand 10 hours in a gondola. Whereas if it had been at the beginning, it would have been a different experience.
Right. What is one thing that you guys learned about each of your kids and yourselves while on this journey that you didn't realize it was there before?
Let's start with Leo. Leo's the easiest. Leo, I think what we realize is how amazingly easy it is for him to make friends. Every time he would get to a bunch of kids playing, within 3 minutes, he was playing with everybody. He was friends with everybody. So that was really amazing to see with Leo. Mia, I think it was how, a second mom in the family she was. We see that through her, but during the trip, she was really organizing and making sure that we were going to the right place. She was always aware, of the planning, and trying to sometimes, we need to go there. So she was really good at it. Colin is, I think what we realize is how funny he is. He's the shy one in the family.
Well, he's the one that you wouldn't expect to be funny.
Exactly.
And he is in his own way, and it's a much more subtle way than let's say Laurent, for example, who's the clown.
Yeah. Colin is not a clown. He doesn't need the attention, but then he's going to make a little joke and just laugh for himself. And I think you need to spend a lot of time, because in the daily life, you don't realize that, because it's time to brush your teeth and to eat and to do serious stuff. But being on the trip, we had more time with them, which was an incredible gift for us as a family. So we realized how funny he is. Laura is, oh God, how many questions? How many questions can a kid ask? He's just an endless well of questions.
He has a curiosity well beyond, a lot of people we know. It's
more
insatiable. Insatiable.
It's a curiosity, but also just, where does this question come from?
When the earth is going to explode in 5 billion years, so is every human being going to die or something like that?
Oh wow.
or silly thing. We went to see those in Indonesia, the headhunters. So they had human head, like old ones.
Shrunken.
They're not shrunken, they're dried, whatever, died, dead head, dead head, like they were hanging there. And Laura's looking at it, and he asked those weird questions. Are they really dead? Yes. Okay. Were they dead when they cut the head? Are they still thinking? All those questions, if you put them in water, are you going to go back to life? She's like, oh, that's so weird that like every 5 years old will ask those questions. He's not just spook out or just scared. So, yeah, that was amazing to see Laura, to be more in his head and to see the world through his eyes. Is just, wow, there's so many questions to be asked about the world that we didn't know existed.
Amazing. And what about yourselves, both of you? What did you guys learn about yourselves?
About myself, about Seb, like I said about Seb, what I learned is how amazing of trip planner he is, because he's responsible for planning everything. And wow, he did such an incredible job. He was so good at it, and I knew he was good, but to that extent, that was amazing. Everything went so well because of him. So,
well, and I think one thing, we learned about, well, not each other, but we knew in everyday life, but traveling together, you have to complement each other, and you have to, we each had their own thing, and we completely gave our confidence on, you're going to do it, and I don't have to think about it. And that really helped us, because if we each had, to do the same things, it would never work, or it would be just too cumbersome. So I think being able to trust each other really helped out, and we each really defined, this is what I'm going to do, this is what you're going to do, and being able to do it and go through the trip doing that really was helpful. And that, planning side, yes, but also emotionally, where at some point you're just worn out, and the other one would take over and give us some rest. So I think that also being 24/7 with kids, if we didn't have that, we probably would have packed and came back earlier.
I think we realized, we knew we were a great team, but
that tests you to the
limit. And I think we just realized, wow, we really are an amazing team together. So it just confirmed that.
One of the things that happens when you're traveling, and it happens to me, I'm sure it happened to you guys, but would like to know if that's the case and how did you go overcome that, is that whether you're traveling with your friend or your spouse or your family, whoever, and because you're just limited to those people most of the time, and you're not used to spending that much time, so you have to figure out a way of making conversation about things that you normally don't. Was that challenging in the beginning, even though you're a family, but obviously you're not spending that much time together, right? At home with school and work. How was that sort of taken care of, or was it organic by itself?
I think it was more organic, especially with kids. I mean, they talk nonstop, and they're just
quiet was more difficult than talking.
I think what was not hard, but what we had to learn is to communicate better together when there's problem, and make sure to resolve any conflict quickly. Because when you're at home, like it's easy. Okay, I'm mad, I'm gonna go, in my room and take some time. But like in the trip, we were in the same room, so we had to manage that together. So be able to resolve the conflict, and how do we talk to each other so it doesn't you don't get irritated. And that was a constant, like, yes, we learned, but it's still a work in progress. But it made us tighter as a family, because now I think it's easier as a family to be together and to face like little challenges in life together.
Yeah. I mean, kudos to you guys that you guys spent time in one room throughout this trip. I don't know how I would last, but
it was hard.
Hats off to you guys.
It was very hard.
It wasn't only the good.
Yeah, it was tiring, but it was the work, the hardest part and the best part at the same time, to be like together 24/7.
Yeah.
It's an amazing gift, but the hardest part.
Yeah,
It was
like fighting who's gonna sleep with whom in the bed, and
yeah,
you know,
constant fighting. And
yeah,
but yes, it wasn't easy, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was great at
Right.
the same time.
About your kid's condition, where it is at right now, and how, I mean, what is their process like, dealing with it while being around? Like, one of the greatest lines in the film is what you said, Sebastian. It's so true. I don't remember the exact quote, but the idea of when one of your senses goes away, the other senses kicks in automatically, right? Like, that's just the way we're built. Like, how are they coping with it during the entire trip and even now?
Um, their vision is still good during the day because it progresses, like what we know now is it progress really slowly. So
Mm,
the night vision is gone, but the night vision is not like as there's less impact because it's easy to fix with more lights in the day vision. It's still good. We see on the scans that like the cells are dying, but right now it doesn't affect their day vision. So they don't feel it too much. They know it's coming, but there's no impact too much in their life right now. And because they're
mm,
kids, they don't think about the future. You know, they live in the present. And my daughter is really good at that because people ask her all the time, and her answer is, it's in the future. There's no point worrying about it.
especially since she can't do anything about it.
Yeah, I can't do about it.
yeah.
So why worry? Like, life is good right now. I'm going to enjoy it as much as possible. And I'll face the challenges when they come. But also, she's really confident that she's going to overcome them. She doesn't know how, but and I think that was one of the greatest thing about the trip is they've learned that they can be in like really uncomfortable situation, and like the gondola, like for example, it was a hard moment, but I felt with my kid after all that travel that they were confident that it's going to be okay. So I think the trip
Mhm.
taught them that, but also as parent, it showed us how resilient they were. So it also
Yeah,
makes us confidence about the future.
that's wonderful. One of the things traveling does, it really changes the way you think about the world, but also more importantly, the way you think about yourself, right? It just completely changes your structure, your DNA, everything. Was there a moment, when you go to these countries, and there are certain part of the countries, not obviously everywhere, where you might see somebody probably not in as good position as you may be, and you tend to be grateful for who you are and what you have, despite their, you know, problems that they're going through. What can you guys, both of you, talk about one moment like that that kind of gave that
There's so many, but there's one thing that we went in a small village in Zambia, and
mm,
the kids thought it was really funny. There was a well where they could fill the water, and you know they
They
had
thought
fun.
it was fun. You know, they look
Yeah,
at the kids, oh, they're so lucky to have
yeah.
a well
so,
to
so, so they filled the bucket, but now
yeah.
they had to transport it back to the home, and they realized, geez, you know, this is tough, and they do this several times a day, and we're so fortunate to just have running water and electricity that, you know, it we take it for granted, and that seems like basic, but not everybody in the world has it, and that was a realization where, you know, people don't always have it as easy as we do. And we're very fortunate. That's just one very extreme example, but we, you know, there's so many of them,
Yeah,
and
and it's so different level, the level
yeah,
of like comfort, like running water, electricity, food, but also freedom, especially as a woman, like so many country where women were not as free, and even men in some
Yep.
countries as well, just the
Yeah.
like how the culture like keeps you in certain rules and you have no freedom. And it was very you always it your problems after that seem so small.
Yeah.
yeah, and one
Uh,
thing you know it, or we knew it when we because we've traveled before, but we really realized it, or had the kid realizing it, is that fundamentally people, human beings are good, and people all over the world, however they live or what they have, they're not different, and they're good human beings. And I think that's one thing that we were able to see, let's say teach, but to
Yeah.
experience, is that people are good all over the world, and
We tend to be scared
Yeah.
because when you hear in the news about other countries,
Yep.
it's always bad news. You don't hear
Yep.
about great things that are happening everywhere in the world. You only hear about like wars or crimes, or like how dangerous it is. But when you travel, so people tend to be scared of so many places. But when you get there, most people are good human
Yeah.
beings, and they're it's amazing to connect with them everywhere.
in Asia,
Yeah.
we're like, can we lock our door? They're like, why would you lock your door? No, we
Yeah.
don't do that here. If anybody steals, the whole village is gonna go after them.
Yeah. No, that's so true. I was in Nova Scotia for one of my films, and it was a village that we spent 3, 4 years on and off, and nobody locked their doors. Nobody locked their doors. But it also is very true that one thing I loved what you said is that freedom. I find that everything in life begins and ends with freedom. The fact that you guys had the freedom to go even leave the country, which a lot of people can't because of
Yeah.
financial or visa or just their government policies, is such a blessing, and that you can see the world.
Yeah, we are so privileged to be able to do that. Yes, the reason why we did it is sad, and yes,
Yeah.
it's sad, but the reality was we're really privileged to have the chance to do that, and I'm so glad I get to share it, as much as like on the social media. But with that movie, for me, it was one thing to be, we've seen so much, we've learned so much, that to be able to share it was such an amazing opportunity for us. It was a way to give back because we had the chance to do it, and so little people are able to do it. So
Amazing.
we're grateful for that.
That's super. Well, we got a little bit 10 minutes left, so I'm just going to try to close it up with a few questions. Now you're doing this press tour, the film is coming up online and being shown at screenings and everything. You guys yourself, along with your kids, how are you coping with that? Because sometimes that can become a little too much, especially for the kids because their minds are not fully developed.
I don't think it affects them at all. They don't.
No, but I think we've had a good balance of snippets of being more exposed, as when we went to the Telluride Film Festival. But when they get back home, they're just normal kids in a normal class, and they fight, they play, they do everything normal. So I think there's the two sides, but we've been able to have a decent balance where
Good.
we also know that there's an end to it. So we're kind of
Yeah.
being in the moment, but at the same time we know that in 6 months from now nobody's going to talk about it anymore. So it is what it is. So let's
Enjoy
there's
it.
not going to be a follow-up or a sequel or whatever you call it.
It's different. But for them, actually, for the kids, yeah, we don't see, they're really not affected. And the reality is they don't know we do that many interviews, and they're
Okay,
not
so you
on
guys
the
are
internet,
okay.
and they're not on social media. So
Yeah.
they don't
Good.
see, like, sometimes they're going to, like, we're going to share a little article, but I don't know. They don't realize it yet.
Well,
My
that's
daughter,
yeah, that's the key, right? They don't have social media because if they did,
Yes.
then
yes,
that might result into something different.
exactly.
That's maybe a good, well, not maybe, that's a good thing. It's at their age, I think that's
And Mia was able to turn it around because she was an ambassador for a children's hospital here in Montreal. So she was able to use that as a way to give back, and that was a great way to do it. So it's really positive for her to be able to use our voice for something so positive.
Amazing. So you mentioned sequel or anything, and would something like a starting unless you already have like a nonprofit or trying to create awareness about this disease or anything of that nature that you guys have thought about, sort of carrying this thing
one thing we
forward?
tried to do is just selling the story is already a lot of awareness, and we're trying to build on that. But the way we've done it is more encourage or direct towards organization. Findingblindness.org is one thing that appears at the end of the movie. We have this children's hospital that the actual hospital is following our kids.
There's already so many organizations. I don't think
Right.
starting something new would be really useful. More to joining our voice with other. We think that's the more meaningful
we're
way
trying
to do it.
to get more awareness to these organizations, and especially regarding blindness. It's something that people are so scared about. They don't want to talk about it. So in a sense, the more we talk about it, the better it is. And if we can get more exposure to these organizations, I think that's what we'd be aiming for.
That's amazing. Well, that's really good. Listen, guys, your story is incredible. And making that leap of faith and traveling the world, even for the sake of your own kids, is not an easy thing. So kudos to you that you guys have done that. And the result, obviously, is a wonderful film, Blink. And thank you so much for being involved in it and, showing us your story and sharing your personal moments with us.
Thank you. It's really a privilege for us to be able to do that.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate your time, Sebastian and Edith.
Thank you so much.